I didn't mean it flippantly when I said, in the meantime, we'll negotiate with bombs.
It's Ken Harbaugh with the MeidasTouch Network. We'll negotiate with bombs. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth just doubled down on comments he made last week about the Trump regime bombing its way to the negotiating table. I'm not naive. I know that war is, to borrow from Clausewitz, a continuation of politics by other means. But the zealousness with which Pete Hegseth talks about bombing should alarm any military professional who knows what actually happens on the receiving end. The United States, remember, killed over 100 children in the opening hours of the war with an attack on a girls' school. That was reportedly an accident, the result of bad targeting by American planners, but it should have forced some degree of humility upon the Pentagon. Instead, we get this constant drumbeat of bravado and bloodlust from the secretary himself. This, by the way, was the question to which he was responding when he talked about negotiating with bombs.
The president wrote yesterday that the U.S. might destroy Iran's electricity generating plants and oil wells. Those are his words before ending this operation. Is there a way to do either of those things without seriously jeopardizing or seriously harming civilians?
We've got a real problem when the civilian leadership of the Pentagon is this zealous about dropping bombs. The leaders I looked up to during my time in uniform never thought that killing, though sometimes a necessary evil, was anything to gloat over. But here is Pete Hegseth at a Pentagon worship service last week.
Behold now the wicked who rise against your justice and the peace of the righteous. Snap the rod of the oppressor, frustrate the wicked plans, and break the teeth of the ungodly. By the blast of your anger, let the evil perish. Let their bulls go down to slaughter. For their day has come, the time of their punishment. Pour out your wrath upon those who plot vain things and blow them away like chaff before the wind. And let justice be executed swiftly and without remorse, that evil may be driven back and wicked souls delivered to the eternal damnation prepared for them. We ask these things with bold confidence in the mighty and powerful name of Jesus Christ, King over all kings, and amen.
I grew up in the church. I recognize that kind of zealotry. It's not something you want the leader of our military wearing on his sleeve, or, in the case of Pete Hegseth, wearing as a Christian Nationalist tattoo. I wanted to talk to someone who understands intimately the kind of destruction that fills Pete Hegseth with such glee. Adam Hamawi was a combat surgeon during the war in Iraq, where he saved Senator Tammy Duckworth's life after her helicopter was shot down. Hamawi went on to volunteer as a surgeon in Gaza and is now running for Congress in New Jersey's 12th District. Here's our conversation. Dr. Adam Hamawi, thanks so much for joining us today. Pete Hegseth gave a press conference in which he stated the American position on negotiations as negotiating with bombs. As someone who has been a combat trauma surgeon and later spent time in Gaza at the receiving end of one of the most devastating aerial bombardments in history, how do you react, as a soldier as well, to this idea of negotiating with bombs, especially when the line is delivered seemingly so flippantly?
It doesn't work. We've seen this in the past. We've seen it in Iraq. We've seen it in Afghanistan. Iraq was about shock and awe in the beginning. We bombed the hell out of them. And then we were in there for 10 years and we came out, and what we ended up with, ISIS formed after that. We destroyed a government. Nothing came into its place. And our ultimate goals were not successful. We went in for weapons, WMDs. Remember that? It's the same thing we're talking about now with the nuclear weapons. It's the same story over and over again. What we do is we spend blood and treasure and years of war, and we have our troops going in and coming back and carrying the baggage that they bring back with them and their families. And in the end, who benefits out of this? We're not safer as a country. We're not safer as a world. And all we lose as a country is our legitimacy and the prestige that we've gotten over the years of being a superpower that's supposed to be, a beacon of democracy. And we're quickly losing that.
How do you feel about the president's recent statements targeting Iranian civilian infrastructure, especially power plants, which is a tactic that Putin has unleashed on Ukraine, and we have condemned. The United States government has condemned, and now that very same government is saying we're going to do the same to Iran. As someone who has been both a military surgeon and a civilian volunteer in war zones, what are your thoughts on that kind of rhetoric coming from the United States government?
It also makes us less safe. When we enter wars, we're supposed to be following the rules of engagement and international law. And if we can't hold ourselves to account and our allies to account, then how could we ask our adversaries to do the same thing? So when we target their civilian infrastructures, when we target their hospitals, when we target things that are normally out of bounds, and then they come and do the same thing to us, we've opened the door. This is basically the Gazification of what's happening right now in Iran and in Lebanon. We're using the same tactics that Israel used there and carpet bombing the entire infrastructure, killing civilians, and we're trying to do this in Iran. It's not going to work, and it's only going to make us look worse, and the entire world is going to fall apart.
We got a ton of questions for you over on Substack when we announced that this interview was coming up. And one of them really struck a chord with me, which was, how do you, as a vet, make the distinction between supporting our military and wanting our brothers and sisters in arms who are downrange doing their jobs? How do you balance support for them against opposing what is very likely an illegal war, given the fact that there was no imminent threat, given the fact that there was no authorization from Congress? How do you juggle both of those at the same time?
So we have to separate, being critical of our administration and our government and our leaders and who's sitting in those seats. Have they served in the military? Do they understand the troops? Are they doing the right thing? Versus your fellow brothers and sisters in arms. I serve just like you. Most people are entering because they are patriotic. Like me, I entered because I wanted an education. My dad said, listen, I can't pay for college. I joined the National Guard, eventually got an ROTC scholarship. People are trying to get by and trying to do the right thing. So there's nothing wrong with supporting the troops and understanding that they're regular people just trying to do the right thing, and then looking at the leaders who are giving them bad orders, basically. And this is where we need to make the distinction. So criticizing Trump, criticizing, Hegseth, and criticizing what we're doing does not undermine our support for the actual individuals who are putting their bodies, their lives on the line, and really are just trying to, do the right thing.
I want to talk about mornings for a second. My mornings are not calm. Between the show, the reporting, the kids, I am going from the moment I'm up. And for a long time, I just white-knuckled it. No real routine, no real system, just adrenaline and whatever was in the fridge. I started paying more attention to what I was actually putting in my body every day and realized I didn't have a great answer for how I was fueling any of it. So I've been looking into what's out there. One thing that keeps coming up is mud water. Their original blend is made with cacao, chai, turmeric, and functional mushrooms, lion's mane for focus, cordyceps for natural energy, reishi, and chaga for immune support. You mix it up, drink it hot or cold, and the idea is clean, steady energy without the spike and crash. No jitters, just dialed in all day. Every single ingredient is USDA certified organic, non-GMO, gluten-free, vegan, and kosher. Zero sugar, no sweeteners. You drop the powder in a mug, pour hot water, stir, and you're good. Some people add creamer or honey. And the energy doesn't disappear at 2 p.m. It's steady, the kind of thing where you don't realize how much better you feel until you skip a day. They've also got caffeine-free blends and protein shakes if that's more your speed. And now you can grab it at Target and Sprouts nationwide, which makes it easy to try without committing to a subscription. Ready to make the switch to cleaner energy? Head to mudwater.com and grab your starter kit today. Right now, our listeners get an exclusive deal up to 43% off starter kits plus free shipping and a free rechargeable frother when you use code KEN. That's right, up to 43% off with code KEN at mudwtr.com. After your purchase, they'll ask how you found them. Please show your support and let them know we sent you. It's Ken Harbaugh. What you're about to see in this trailer trailer for the upcoming Midas Defense documentary, Drone Hunters of Kherson, is real combat footage shot by me and my crew in Ukraine. Over the past few years, I've gone back to the front again and again, embedding with Ukrainian suicide drone crews and anti-drone units from rooftops overlooking Kyiv to the Black Sea coast to trenches outside Kherson. That access didn't come easily. It took time and a level of trust that gets built by showing up when others won't. Drone Hunters of Kherson is the culmination of that work, a documentary that puts you inside the units that are writing the playbook for the battlefields of the future. What these crews are doing right now in Ukraine, the tactics, the technology, the bravery, has direct bearing on what American forces are facing in the Middle East today. This is the future of warfare, and it's not theoretical. It's happening now.
The contest between who gets who first. Do they get the drone, or does the drone get them? We're that close to the front. There's rubble everywhere, but people are still surviving. We just got an alert that there is a wave of 12 Shaheeds flying in over the Black Sea. There! That's the amazing thing about this war. It's a blend of trench warfare and Terminator.
How much confidence do you have in the American military to do the right thing in extremis? And I'll give you the nightmare scenario. We've all been warning about the potential deployment of ICE during the elections. That's bad enough, but if the administration succeeds in blurring the line between ICE and the National Guard and gets the National Guard out in the streets during the elections, or God forbid, turned against the American people during something like a No Kings protest, how confident are you in your buddies in uniform to abide their oaths to the Constitution in that moment and reject those illegal orders from a commander-in-chief? A really tough decision because it's not always a bright line. Do you think your friends in the military will rise to that occasion?
You know, I worry about that too, because it takes courage to do the right thing, and often at your own expense, knowing that there are going to be consequences. So standing up to bad leaders, standing up to an order that you feel is illegal is going to require that you possibly are going to face legal consequences. But we have to be ready for this, and I think our job and something that you're doing is educating people, putting things on air to kind of give people a perspective about what's really happening. And I think, we're going to have to push our, brothers and sisters to do the right thing and hold everyone to account. At some point, the administration is going to change. And hopefully when I get into Congress and we have a Democratic House, that we could start holding ICE to account and people who followed the legal orders to account. We just have I was watching Nuremberg this weekend, and we looked at, what happened with the Nazis after that. Saying that I was following orders is not good enough. And at some point, we will hold people to account. And so I hope people think about that if it comes to that situation.
I've been talking to a lot of people about that film. I actually watched it on the plane over the last few days on the out and back. And the most striking aspect of it to me was the observation that there was nothing really that exceptional about the German people. It was just a confluence of events and terrible leadership and terrible choices that set them on this path, which is really the warning flag for us. There's no way to say that can only happen there, because at least the way the film is portraying the situation, it could happen to anybody. Tell us a little bit about the New Jersey 12th, and in particular, I want to hear what you're hearing on the ground, on doors, when you're out there door knocking or in town halls, especially given your background in medicine.
People are not happy with the situation on the ground. Everyone's talking about affordability. I personally see the problems with our healthcare system every single day when I take care of my patients. They aren't able to either afford insurance at all. They can't pay for their premiums. And when you're paying a high premium, you can't even get the care you want because your insurance company is denying it. And they're upset about, the price of gas being, now at least $1 higher. They're upset that, they can't afford education. And at the same time, we're watching our TVs and we see $1 billion a day going to another war that, we weren't forced into, that we chose to go into. So it's putting the contrast of really what can we afford and where are we spending our money and do we have our priorities right? And so people are angry and upset about what's happening.
Well, thanks so much for joining us, Dr. Hamawi. Where can people learn more about you and your campaign?
Hamawy, go to hamawy4nj.com and sign up, obviously, to volunteer. We need donations. The only way this thing works is if everyone contributes. I'm not accepting corporate PAC money. I'm not accepting anything from AIPAC or any other corrupt interests. So if we want to really make campaign financed change and actually work for people, is that we have to contribute. So go online and put in a $5, $10, whatever you could afford.
Great. Thanks for thanks for joining us. Great having you. We'll check in after the June 2nd primary, right?
Yes. Thank you very much.
That was my interview with Dr. Adam Hamawi. If you've been watching this show for a while, you know that I always ask office holders and candidates about their commitment to hold DHS and ICE in particular accountable for their abuses of civil rights. I forgot to ask Dr. Hamawi during the interview, but I emailed him a follow-up question to which he replied. As an immigrant myself, I take this administration's campaign of terror against immigrant communities personally. As a member of Congress, I will support dragging ICE agents and their bosses in the administration in front of committees to hold them to account for what they have done to our country. There must be legal consequences that follow from investigations. We'll take that as a yes. The link to Dr. Hamawi's campaign website is below. Thanks.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.